The GOP is in full meltdown mode over Mamdani beating Cuomo in the New York City Democratic primary, but they are missing the focus. They should be panicked that their party is about to be swarmed with MAGA. Make Israel great again. And if there already wasn't a divide inside of the Republican Party right now with the anti-Israel crowd versus the pro-Israel crowd, it is only going to get worse. And in fact, we can pretty much kiss MAGA goodbye. You can pretty much kiss MAGAville goodbye. And I'm going to explain why people on the right shouldn't be so worried about the socialists coming to take over and communists coming and Marxism coming, but they should instead be worried about the fact that a foreign government is about to have a much stronger hold on the GOP than MAGA. And I'm going to explain exactly how that whole thing is going to go down. So everybody's freaking out about Mamdani here. He has beat Andrew Cuomo. First of all, I don't know why anybody is so surprised by this. Just on its surface, Andrew Cuomo is the embodiment of the establishment. I mean, here's somebody from a political dynasty. His father was governor. He was governor. He's now wanting to be mayor. This is like a Clinton, right? And people are sick of these political dynasties. They want new. They want different. They don't want the same old political elites coming in and running things and doing nothing. And so it should have been no surprise that even just it wasn't Mamdani who took Cuomo down. It should have actually been really anybody, because people are quite sick of the political establishment. But Zoran Mamdani wasn't just any of your other political candidates. There were several others that ran against Cuomo, and you could argue, well, any of them should have been able to rise up. Why did they have to choose the socialist? Why did they have to choose the commie, the Marxist? In fact, let me just show you some of the tweets that we're seeing, people just absolutely losing their mind from the right. Here's Gunther Eagleman saying, "Rest in peace, New York City. Sharia law coming soon." Charlie Kirk, 24 years ago, a group of Muslims killed 2,753 people on 9/11. Now a Muslim socialist is on pace to run New York City. Okay, did Zoran Mamdani, is he the one who committed 9/11? I mean, he's from Uganda. He was born in Uganda. His parents are Indian, and he happens to be a Muslim. He's not even a Middle Eastern Muslim. He's not Arab. He's not anything. And yet, Charlie Kirk is actually making this disgusting comparison that he's somehow responsible for 9/11. Could you imagine saying that about a Jew? Like a Jew, Epstein was a Jew. We shouldn't let Jews anywhere near our children. No Jews around any of our children because Epstein was a Jew. I mean, that's the type of argument that this is. And he's not the only one who makes it. Laura Loomer makes it also, but you can always kind of assume she's going to say something a bit nutty. And she prides herself on being a Jewess. So she's proudly Jewish. She defends Israel at all costs. She says she's MAGA, but she's really MAGA. And that has been exposed over the last few months. She says, New Yorkers forgot all about the victims of 9/11 killed by Muslims. Now a Muslim communist will be the mayor of New York City. Get out while you can. I cannot believe that people actually have this coming out of their mouths. And this is the pro-Israel crowd, right? The pro-Israel crowd has no problems with smearing and defaming every single Muslim on earth because they believe that some Muslims committed 9/11. And that's debated. That's debated. Yes, that is the narrative. But a lot of people will say, actually, it wasn't Muslims at all. There was an entirely different group. Oh, a group that you maybe are associated with, Laura Loomer, who might have actually been the ones plotting, planning, or at least knew about it and didn't give us any fair warning. Let us all suffer and die, then go under attack. I mean, you could say that same thing. Here's Batar Worldwide. Can you believe this? We urge all Jews to evacuate New York City. And they're responding to another tweet here. Evacuate New York City immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Really, truly unbelievable that, but why do they feel this way? Why are they panicking? Why are these, Betar Worldwide, which is a prominent Jewish organization, Laura Loomer, a proud Jewess, Charlie Kirk, proudly Israel first. Why would they be saying Jews are in trouble or Muslims are bad and they're coming for you and here they are, Sharia law is marching in? Why would they say that about by Zoran Mamdani? Well, let me just give you a little sampling of who he is. Mainstream media pushes agendas and silences dissent. That's why I started this show, to cut through the noise and have real conversations. And that's also why I partnered with Ground News, an app and website that values transparency and lets you see the full picture. For every story, they gather reports from all sides of the political spectrum. So I just swipe through the coverage with labels showing each outlet's bias, their credibility, and corporate ties, making it easy to spot what's being left out and why. With Ground News, I could take any story, like the recent tariff hike on steel and aluminum imports to 50%, and I can instantly see how it's being spun across the political spectrum. Left-leaning outlets, of course, they warn of job losses and mass disruption, while right-leaning sources frame it as patriotic protection against unfair foreign dumping. And with Ground News, I can quickly tell if a story is being shaped by big corporate liberal media or approached differently by smaller independent conservative outlets. No guessing, just clarity. Their blind spot feature highlights major stories one side isn't covering at all, giving you insight into what's being ignored and why. It's a powerful tool for bringing back transparency and real debate to a media world that really desperately needs both. Ground News is fully independent, it is subscriber supported and trusted by over 2 million users. And right now, my viewers get 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use at just $5 a month. And I've been doing this since well before they became a sponsor. I've been using Ground News. But this offer is only available through my link, ground.news/Kim, or by scanning the QR code that you see on the screen. That's ground.news/Kim for 40% off. So if you're like me and you are tired of media spin and want the full picture, then don't miss this. Check the link in the description and see for yourself. So that you could get a feel for his character, and then you're going to see why he was elected. And it has nothing to do with leftists are suddenly now Marxists. That is not what has happened here. And all of the people on the right, everybody in the GOP that is sitting there screaming about Marxism, they are missing the point. They are missing it. This man, Mamdani, was elected because of an America First agenda, and the right cannot see it. They are blind. They're unable to see it. It's just like the left. The left was completely blind and unable to see why this coalition was forming on the right of people who were previously Democrats, previously independent. Suddenly they found themselves politically homeless and they moved over to the right. Why did they do that? Well, for whatever reason, people on the right are unable to take that same logic and apply it now to another group of people and say, you know what? Maybe this guy won because people are feeling politically homeless, and they're also not they're not feeling represented, and they're wanting a new coalition. At the flip side, you got a whole new group of people, and this is what I'm warning about, who also feel politically homeless because of this election, because they really feel like, as Jews, they're worried now. A Muslim just got elected. They're politically homeless. They want MAGA. Democrats have abandoned them, and they're going to be flooding into the right. And that means you can kiss MAGA goodbye. But let me just show you Zoran Mamdani, just some of the video clips of him so you get a feel for who he is. Pay really close attention. Try to put out of your mind for a minute that this guy is a big Marxist commie socialist, okay? Because that's not, I think, the point.
How many more New Yorkers? How many more New Yorkers will you detain? How many more New Yorkers without charge? Do you believe in the First Amendment? Do you believe in the First Amendment, Tom Homan?
When we asked Tom Homan, all he had to answer for that cruelty was a smirk. Because there is no answer for taking a man from his pregnant wife, who is due to deliver their newborn child in a month, from their Columbia University apartment. A day after, that same man, Mahmoud Khalil, wrote to Columbia University and said he feared for his life.
Okay, so right there, you've got a guy that is on the streets marching. He is yelling. He's involved. He's not just eating $15 a pint ice cream saying, oh, yes, I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for you. He's actually out there with the people. People like that. They feel like, oh, you're really one of us. So pay attention to that. Don't pay attention to what he's talking about, because you might be against it thinking, oh, this guy is a big old, like I said, Marxist, socialist, commie. He's on the wrong side of things. You're not paying attention to what is appealing about him. If you're just in the weeds on this, you're going to miss the point. And the GOP, I'm telling you right now, is about to falter and flail, and it's not good, because this, we'll get to it, but here he is again. Watch this.
You're currently the only candidate using the term genocide to describe what's going on in the war between Israel and Hamas. You realize a lot of people stop listening when you use a hot-button term like that. I'm wondering how, as a candidate, if elected as a mayor, you would conduct that conversation in a city that really cares about these issues.
I have strived to ensure that my language is driven by fact. And what we have found
is that so many experts on the term itself and on the history of the use of that term have found it to be a correct application. And so I do not disagree in that this is a highly charged issue and the use of the term, but I do believe it is the most accurate description of what is going on. And what we've also found is that a majority of Democrats believe that that is the correct term.
Yeah, well, he's clearly correct, right? Because he just defeated Andrew Cuomo in the Democratic primary. So this is sending Democrats a message, isn't it? They're holding on to MAGA, just like the right-wing party is as well. And Democrats have just handed them their asses and said, nope, we are not going in that direction anymore. We don't agree with you. You establishment shills have been doing things behind our backs, not without our consent, and we're not going along with it anymore. And they handed them a referendum. And that is, this is the future of the Democratic Party. You can bet that from here on out, a lot of candidates, I would say, will fail in the Democratic primaries if they are Israel first. And why shouldn't they? In fact, every candidate should fail if they're Israel first. It's kind of odd that we even have to have the slogan, America first. Why? Why do we even need this slogan? Shouldn't that just be obvious? Shouldn't that be unsaid? Why do you even need to say it out loud? America first. That should just be a no-brainer. That should be that's the norm. But instead, it has to be stated, it has to be focused on, and we have to get politicians to actually denounce the foreign government that has taken over and completely infiltrated and couped our current government. And it's not really even a coup. Our government officials gladly handed it over. Here's Zoran. This is one of his more polished advertisement campaigns.
We all wanted to defeat Donald Trump, and New York felt like a lock. But in many ways, this election, Trump's back on the ballot. We have a choice between Andrew Cuomo, funded by the same billionaires who put Donald Trump back in the White House, and our campaign, who will tax billionaires to make the city affordable. It's a referendum on where our party goes. So in just this one instance, ask yourself, WWDFGD, what would a disgraced former governor do? Well, Cuomo changed his registration immediately after not having lived here for more than 30 years. So if he's voting from his new address, so should you. With just single digits between us and Andrew Cuomo, your vote can make the difference. You have until June 14th, this Saturday, to change your registration in New York City. So head to ZahranForNYC.com/vote. Let's win this thing.
Okay, here he is.
We're kind of sky. It's the struggle for dignity. And every single one of us that is committed to dignity in Greenpoint has to be committed to dignity in Gaza. Every single one of us who wants justice in Whitestone needs to be fighting for justice in the West Bank.
So, I mean, you could sit there, like many people on the right are, and they are just livid about this and saying, wow, the Democratic Party, how far they've fallen. Wow, look at these voters. We've been totally taken over by some crazed extremists. It's literally the exact same language that I heard from Democrats about Trump supporters. They're extremists. They're far right. We've been taken over by Nazis. They're going to march us into fascism. It's literally the exact same stupid language, and yet the right is using it, and they're unable to see 2 inches past their own damn noses. And they're not realizing that a momentous shift has happened in America, and you're either on board or you can get off the effing train, because we do not want to be Israel first anymore. We are America first. That shouldn't even need to be said. But somehow, for some reason, we have to say it to you idiots. It's America first. How hard is this? But they're sitting there thinking, oh no, it's just a bunch of socialists and radicals that have taken over. And that sounds exactly like the Democrats that couldn't figure out why they lost in 2024. They cannot, we will win, of course, because you just hate Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump is a fascist. You're not going to vote for fascism. You're not going to vote for extremism, far-right crazies. Oh, how dare you? No. And they completely lost the plot. And Americans voted for Donald Trump, handed him all the swing states, and said, you know what, Democrats, you guys have completely lost it with your crazy trans agendas and your misinformation, cracking down on misinformation campaigns, and you're opening up all the borders to all the people. You've lost the plot. America doesn't want that anymore. But guess what? The GOP is losing the plot again, because now we're starting to see those things getting fixed, right? So we're feeling good. We're like, all right, the borders are pretty much closed. Donald Trump did a good job on that. We're starting to make change that Americans wanted. So now we're able to focus on something else, something bigger, something that's actually potentially driving us into World War III, and that's Israel and our unwavering, blind support for Israel. No matter what they do, we see images of dead babies on our television screens and on our social media day in and day out, and yet they can't figure out that, you know what, we don't really actually support this as the American people. Just like Democrats couldn't figure out, you know what, when you open up the borders and you let just random people flood into our country, and then we hear news reports of them committing rapes and murders, we don't really want that for our country. And Democrats couldn't figure that out. And here's the GOP, totally and completely, and Democratic establishment, mind you, unable to figure out that Americans, one America first. I know, novel, totally and completely novel. Here is a perfect showcasing of what it is Americans want.
The first foreign visit by a mayor of New York is always considered significant. Where would you go first? Left to right, Ms. Adams.
Well, I should say this isn't what America wants. This is a showcasing of what America has. And Mamdani, the one who answered correctly and who ended up winning this Democratic primary, is what Americans want.
First visit, I would visit the Holy Land.
Mr. Cuomo.
Given the hostility and the anti-Semitism that has been shown in New York, I would go to Israel.
Mr. Tilson, where would you go?
Yeah, I'd make my 4th trip to Israel, followed by my 5th trip to Ukraine, 2 of our greatest allies fighting on the front lines of the global war on terror.
My goal would be to take my first trip to Israel. My wife's life work in this area means a lot to our family, and it could coincide with my young son Miles' bar mitzvah.
Oh, of
He'd like
course.
to have his bar mitzvah.
I would stay in New York City. My plans are to address New Yorkers across the 5 boroughs and focus on that.
Oh, gee, it's America first. How dare he? Now listen, they literally are like, how dare you?
Mr. Mamdani, can I just jump in? Would you visit Israel as mayor?
I will be doing, as the mayor, I'll be standing up for Jewish New Yorkers, and I'll be meeting them wherever they are across the 5 boroughs, whether that's in their synagogues and temples or at their homes or at the subway platform, because ultimately we need to focus on delivering on their concerns.
And just yes or no, do you believe in a Jewish state of Israel?
I believe Israel has the right to exist.
Not
As a Jewish state?
No,
As a state with equal rights.
Oh, gee.
He won't
Not as a
say it
Jewish
has a
state.
right to exist as a Jewish state. Be very
And
clear
his
on
answer
that.
was no, he won't visit Israel.
I
my
said that
gosh.
That's what he was
unlike
trying
you-
to say.
No, unlike
No,
you, I
you
answer,
never-
unlike
you
you, I
never
answer
said
questions
no.
very
Okay.
directly,
All right, I
and
think
I
we're
want to
clear.
be
You
very
answered-
clear. I
answered-
believe every state should be a state of equal rights.
Okay, that's not really that controversial. It really actually shouldn't be. None of this is, in fact. Him saying, actually, I wouldn't go anywhere foreign. I'd be the mayor of New York City. So I'd stay in New York and address New Yorkers and their problems. And they're stunned by this. They're shocked by this. This is the political elites, the establishment, the other Democrats running on the Democratic ticket, giving these mega talking points. And you know what? Americans, it turns out, on both sides of the aisle, want MAGA. Even Democrats, they want MAGA. That's it. It's working. That is what Bernie Sanders ran on. That is what Donald Trump ran on. That is what people want. People want this. Here's Bernie Sanders from his 2016 election. This is what people voted. They wanted America first. Bernie Sanders ran on America first. He might have called it something different. It wasn't called Make America Great Again at that time. But we now know in hindsight, it absolutely was. And yet, the political establishment, the Hillary Clinton elite, undermined him, cut him at the knees, and ensured that he wouldn't get the nomination to ensure he wouldn't become the president of the United States. Now, you might have been afraid of Bernie Sanders and said, oh, the guy's a Marxist socialist. How dare he? How dare he? But, you know, in hindsight, when you were saying that about Bernie Sanders and you preferred Hillary Clinton, in hindsight now, do you? Or do you actually look back and say, actually, Bernie was way better than Hillary Clinton? I was just a little bit brainwashed during that time. I was just a little bit still in establishment brain, and I was being told that the guy was a Marxist socialist. And in reality, he has a lot of the same ideas as Donald Trump. And then you have Donald Trump, of course, who ran on Make America Great Again. And guess what? That wins elections. And that's what Americans voted for. And now people in the GOP are pissed off because he's bombing Iran and talking about buying Greenland and Canada, making them a state, and doing all of these wonderful things for Israel and rebuilding Gaza and turning it into some sort of international zone with billions and billions of dollars. And we're going to send troops to secure it or something. And we voted on America first. That's what Americans want, America first. And so a lot of the GOP right now is split and kind of pissed off. Rightly so. This isn't what they voted for. They wanted an end to the wars, And not just an end to the wars, they actually wanted to make America great again. And now that they're seeing that, well, actually, America seems to be occupied by a foreign power and controlled by a foreign power, we're not so hot on that idea. We really don't like it, and we'd really like our politicians to come back and work for Americans. But of course, they all go to Israel, and they do the Wailing Wall, and they do whatever they can to placate the Israeli group, those who want to make Israel great again, not America great again. And the rest of us are looking and saying, what's this kind of bullshit? We don't like this. You need to be America first. So Mamdani is he was the America first candidate. And you might not agree with his policies. You might think, oh, this guy wants to defund the police. This guy wants to, he's all about Palestine, and he's bad for Jews, and they're going to go flocking, which, by the way, there are Jews who do support Zoran Mamdani, by the way. Not as many, it's true. A lot of them were very mixed. I think a lot of them sat out this election. And we're going to get to that because that is the big fear that everybody in the Republican Party should worry about right now. A lot of Democrats left the Democrat Party during COVID. There were a lot who left and said, this is insanity. The Democrats have gone insane. A lot of Democrats left the Democratic Party when they realized that they were pushing the trans agenda on their children. A lot of Democrats left the Democratic Party when there was a crackdown on information, calling it misinformation and censoring like czars. A lot of people started leaving the Democratic Party because they didn't like what they were seeing, and they were politically homeless, and they didn't know where to go. And there was this open opportunity in the GOP to start embracing those who were independent or leftists who felt politically homeless. And they found a home in the GOP because suddenly the GOP started changing their narrative. And that was largely because of Donald Trump and MAGA. And that was America first. Hey, we have common sense priorities here. Let's close down the border. Let's focus on Americans. Let's have homes for Americans, jobs for Americans, all the things that socialist, Marxist, insane guy Bernie Sanders was talking about. Donald Trump was saying the same things, and it was appealing to people, especially in 2024 when a lot of these voters, they had voted for Hillary Clinton, they had voted for Joe Biden, and then come 2024, they just said, you know what? This has been a losing situation. They've gotten worse. They've become insane authoritarians. And I'm going with the GOP this time. I'm going with Donald Trump. And he was handed all the swing states. And that was because independent voters, not you diehard GOP, you're going to vote red no matter what. That's what you're going to do. Just like those diehard blue, they're going to vote blue no matter who. Doesn't matter. It doesn't. So that vote doesn't matter. What matters are the independents, the people who are feeling politically homeless, that group. And that group decided to go Republican during this last election because they didn't like what they were seeing with the Democrats. They wanted an America First agenda. Well, now you're going to have a lot of politically homeless Jews who we've seen the tweets saying, run out of New York City. A lot of them, like, in fact, let me show you some good examples of this. Here is Alyssa Miller Hurley, who says, as a Democrat, Zoran winning the Dem primary gives me extreme concern about the direction our party is going in. As a Jewish American, I do not feel like I have a political home, and I'm far from alone in this feeling. Dems will have a real problem if we keep moving this way. It won't be Dems with the problem. It's going to actually be the Republicans with the problem. Here's Russell Drew. For a century, Jews, especially in New York City, found a welcoming home in the Democratic Party. With the nomination of Zoran Mamdani, that chapter closes. Republicans have been making quiet gains. Now they have a breakthrough. I won't switch sides, but I now feel politically homeless. Yeah. It's not Democrats who are going to suffer. When these MAGA first, because that's the only reason why they're going over to the Republican side. They didn't like that Mamdani was calling the genocide a genocide. They didn't like that Mamdani was saying that if Netanyahu arrived in New York City, he would have him arrested per international law. They didn't like that. They don't like the aspects of Mamdani as they're stating as Jewish Americans. They're not saying as an American who's free market capitalist, as an American who enjoys, who's against communism. No. They're saying as Jewish Americans, this guy scares the living daylights out of us. Why is that? The only reason is because they're Israel first. They're just not ready to say that to you. They're not maybe even willing to admit it to themselves. But they're clearly Israel first, and they don't like his rhetoric. So that's the only reason why they're saying, this guy, I'm now politically homeless. If this is the direction of the Democratic Party, I'm out of here. If they're not going to say Israel first, I'm out of here. And guess where they're eventually going to go? Because yes, they're saying right now, look, I'm not switching sides. Look, I'm politically homeless. But that's what a lot of people said who voted for Donald Trump in 2024. The politically homeless gave him those swing states. So you've got this same mentality right now. And guess what? Those political homeless, the Jewish Democrats who normally vote Democrat, who are Israel first, are going to be embraced by the Republican Party because they're thinking, oh, great, new voters, let's bring them in. What's the problem with that? Right now, the GOP has a split. You've got the Tucker Carlsons versus the Mark Levins, right? You've got the Israel first crowd who says anything for Israel. I pledge allegiance to Israel. I go to the Wailing Wall. I pray at it. I do anything and everything for Israel. America's the greatest country next to Israel. We just had one of our diplomats say that just the other day on television. America's the greatest country on earth next to Israel, meaning Israel's the greatest country. An American diplomat saying that. So you've got this crowd that is MAGA versus MAGA, actual MAGA, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Tucker Carlsons, loud voices, people who are not okay, Thomas Massey, who are not okay with the Israel First agenda. So the Republican Party is already fracturing on this. And now you're going to end up absorbing a group of MAGA Democrats who feel politically homeless. So they're going to embolden on the Republican side that Israel First agenda, which means the Republicans have a problem. MAGAville is going to have a problem because a bunch of immigrants are coming in, and these are not the immigrants you want. They don't share your values. So these immigrants are coming in, and they're saying, not make America. Yes, we want to make America great again. But first, we want to make Israel great again. That's what we want. And they're going to be brought into the Republican Party. They're going to be embraced, and that is going to embolden that side of the GOP. And the GOP is in danger right now of completely losing its MAGA focus. And that MAGA focus is ripe for the picking on the Democratic side. And that's what they're doing. And that's what Zoran showed. That's what Zoran Mamdani showed. He showed that they are now adopting a Make America Great Again agenda. Of course, they're not going to call it that. They're not going to say it that way. But he absolutely said it over and over and over again, while all the other Democrat shills were saying, Israel, 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 the Holy Land, Israel, 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 the Holy Land. And Andrew Cuomo is out there actually carrying water for Netanyahu. I mean, look at this. This is who he was running against. Andrew Cuomo joins high-powered legal team to defend Netanyahu against ICC's war crime claims. So he's actually becoming Netanyahu's lawyer against the genocide. The guy running for New York mayor is going to be representing, I don't even care what the case is, to be honest with you. Why is an American running for mayor of our largest city going to defend a foreign leader in any case? I don't care what the case is. Why is he even doing that? Hello? You should be for America. How hard is this? Make America great again. America first is not a difficult concept. It really isn't. But for whatever reason, these politicians just can't seem to figure it out. None of them can. And they're like, oh, no. America, yeah, but Israel, but yes, America, Israel. And we all just got basically hit in the face by Trump after he bombs Iran. That was a slap in MAGA's face. You've got Dan Bongino and Kash Patel both pledging their allegiance to Israel after they said that they would be getting in there and getting us the truth about the Epstein files. And then they say, oh, no, Epstein killed himself. I mean, this is what we're dealing with. Then you got Pam Bondi, who's like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get you those Epstein files, and never did. Instead, released these binders to actual Israelis, actual social media Israelis, and said, see, we gave them to you. I mean, our government has been co-opted, and Americans are not stupid. And Democrats believed that their base was stupid. They believed that they could just continue feeding them these pro-Israel establishment shills like Cuomo, and that they would go for it. And they didn't. So the GOP should open their eyes and wake up to this, because their voting base is upset. Half of them are fine. The Charlie Kirks and the Laura Loomers of the world are perfectly happy. The Mark Levins, they're Mike Huckabees, they're really, really happy because in their mind, this is a religious, it's for religious reasons they want to support Israel. Some of them do it because they believe like Laura Loomer believes in the Jewish state and believes in that as for her own belief system. And then you've got the Mike Huckabees of the world that believes it because he believes that Jesus Christ is going to come back again in the second coming once there's the Battle of Armageddon or something. So you've got these like religious fanatics that are all about a foreign country for religious reasons, which is very difficult to get somebody out of. There's no way to do it. There's no way to say, actually, what about America? And they say, no, you don't understand. God is above all else. And that is true for a lot of people. But if your belief is that God wants you to put another country above your own, a lot of people are going to have a problem with that. And they're going to not vote for that. And they're going to want to go in a different direction. And that is what we're seeing right now in the Democratic Party, is they're going to start adopting this America First agenda. Even though they're not calling it that, it is absolutely an America First agenda. Meanwhile, Republicans are going to be infiltrated with MAGA First, and they're going to end up going further and further and further in that pro-Israel direction, further alienating a lot of the GOP base. And I don't know where a lot of that GOP goes, but I will tell you they just won't vote. They're not going to go to the left because the left has burned us so bad. Democrats have been so awful on so many issues that there's no way in hell that a lot of these politically homeless people and independents who went over to the Republican side, they're not going back to the Democrat side. So they're just going to sit it out. And you know what? That means Republicans lose time and time and time again. Because if you can't get your voters out there to vote for you and the other side can, you lose. It doesn't matter if your alienated voters, they're not flooding back over to the Democrat side, fine. But they'll hand you a loss because it's actually worse for our country to be taken over by a foreign entity than it is to become Marxist commies. Quite frankly, think about it. You look at the Iranians, right? You got all these Iranians right now. They're under attack. They're under siege. And what is that attack and that siege doing? And we see this time and time again after in many different countries. They're rallying around their government, even if they don't like their government. A lot of them don't even like the current Ayatollah. They want to get rid of the religious theocracy. And yet they still rally around. They circle the wagons because they're under attack from a foreign entity. That's natural. That's what people do. So it is worse for the vast majority of people in the world to be under attack from a foreign entity than to have problems in your own home. You can deal with your own problems once you get rid of the outsiders. But if you're under attack by the outsiders, you can't even think about your inside problems. So to think that Americans would be more afraid of Americans who want socialist policies or Marxist policies or commie policies, if you think Americans are more afraid of that than they are being taken over by a foreign government, I don't even know what to say to you, because you're wrong. That is just not human nature. Human nature is fight the enemies, then we can deal with our own problems. But if the enemies come in and they're trying to tell us that our own problems are worse and that we should let them come in and control us, no, you've got another thing. You got another thing coming to you. So we can handle the commies once we get rid of all of the Israelis who are running our government. Then we'll handle the commies. Then we'll have our own internal family fights. And we'll talk about what is the best economic model for the United States. We'll talk about capitalism versus socialism versus commies versus whatever it is, anarchists. We can deal with that in our own homes. But right now, our own home is not ours. It is under siege. It has been taken over. And Americans are wide awake to this. And they become even more wide awake to this. And that is why Mamdani won. And that is why the GOP is fracturing right now. And that is why they should be really, really worried about now this new wave of MAGA base wanting to flood it. They're going to flood into the Republican Party. They're going to hold their noses and they're going to do it. And it will cause an even larger fracture in the Republican Party because you will have been fully infiltrated by the agenda of a foreign country. And that, I don't care what you say to me. That is worse than some commie ideas coming from fellow Americans. That is worse than socialist ideas that I can argue and debate and maybe fix and we can vote out. But the infiltration of the foreign government, the coup that has happened to our country. I want to play one last video for you. This is because there's a lot of people that have been speaking of the socialist policies of Mamdani. I want to play his response to some of the accusations against him of him wanting to defund the police or taxing everybody. I just want to give him a fair shot of what his answers are because just like liberals who absolutely never listened to the full what Donald Trump had to say. They just read the headlines and then they just gobbled it up and they didn't actually listen to him. That wasn't fair to Donald Trump. And a lot of us who actually listened to him said he wasn't saying any of that at all. So let's actually listen to what Zoran Mamdani actually has to say about his policies and ideas.
So what's your take?
I should be the mayor.
I don't know, man. I'm getting all these pieces of mail. Hold on here. They keep sending me mail that says that you shouldn't be the mayor.
What are these guys saying?
Okay, let me see. This one says, support higher taxes and more fees on New Yorkers. I don't want to pay more taxes.
Do you make $1 million or more a year?
100% disagree.
So then your taxes are not going up. The only taxes that we are proposing are on the 1% of New Yorkers who make $1 million or more a year.
What are you going to do about the price of matcha lattes?
100% not sure.
I mean, they're $9. Dude.
I only want to make promises.
You can win this campaign easily if you lower the cost of matcha lattes.
I can only make the promises I can keep.
This says NYC can't risk a mayor who supports defunding the police.
Well, no matter how many pieces of literature you get sent, I'm not defunding the police. I'm actually working with the police to create public safety by ensuring they can do their jobs, focus on serious crimes, and creating a department of community safety that'll focus on mental health, homelessness.
So technically, the police force will stay the same, but there will be more people doing other stuff.
And we're saying that no longer do police officers have to do the jobs of mental health professionals and social workers, and instead they can focus on shootings and murders and serious crimes in the city.
What the police should do. That makes a lot of sense. You don't see me doing other jobs on the subway. This is my job. This is all I do.
Do the job that you signed up
I'm not driving the damn train.
No, you're not.
All right, this says that you have a radical plan to put homeless in the subway system.
This is just 3 for 3 a lie that you're getting in your literature. Let's look at the little print of who's actually paying for this. This is being paid for by Michael Bloomberg, by DoorDash, and by Bill Ackman. Bill Ackman is a Trump-supporting billionaire.
What the hell is DoorDash doing funding an election? It makes no sense.
And then finally, Michael Bloomberg dropped $8.3 million on Andrew Cuomo's super PAC. That's the same amount of money we raised for more than 20,000 people. That's the kind of mismatch here between ordinary people and billionaires.
Should have used the $8 million to subsidize matchas. I mean, seriously, it's a good idea. People would stay in New York. Who does end up leaving the city?
Working and middle-class New Yorkers. It doesn't have to be this way, but these guys would rather lie to you every single day rather than admit the fact that the policies they have pursued for so long have left us with the city that we actually have today.
At least they spelled her name right.
Look, if you are a New Yorker who hasn't voted yet, remember, you can early vote until Sunday. Election day is on Tuesday. This is an election between billionaires and corporations who want to buy this democracy, or the working and middle-class New Yorkers who are being priced out of it.
Let's try something new.
Hey guys, thank you for watching this clip from the full Kim Iverson Show, which you could check out Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern at KimIversonShow.com. See you there.